So mental health to me is the ability to recognise your own emotions, whether they're positive or negative, being able to just recognise them and understanding that each of them have their own place in your life.
Good mental health is sharing your thoughts and talking to people who you trust, people who you're close to.
Not to undermine the burden of other problems like heart problems, respiratory problems, or GI problems. Mental health problems actually constitute one of the major burden of disease when we talk about health in a global perspective.
Good mental health means to be free of constant negative thoughts about yourself and about other people, to really radiate positive energy that comes from your heart and it's sort of spread to everyone. I think that's what good mental health means to me.
Therapy being seen as something weird, unusual, or a sign that one is not normal. Especially in Middle Eastern cultures, therapy is a taboo subject, and stating that one wants to seek therapy is usually not received as something positive, but rather as something worrying. Alternatively, you'll be told that therapy is not needed and that you're exaggerating, that a 5-minute conversation with your parents will sort it out.
There is a huge stigma about mental illnesses, and so people might feel ashamed to seek help for themselves or for their families and friends if needed.
And then if you're having to constantly worry about stigmas that's attached to your culture, your race, the last thing you want another stigma is this mental health stigma. So you may not take up those inputs. You may not even allow yourself to be seen. Actually, you may have family, and that's common. You get families who would want to shut that down very quickly, and there's nothing wrong with them, particularly if they can manage it. But then the problem is that they manage it until they can't, and often what you get is young people or even adults, that by the time they are taken up, they do access treatment, you may get them accessing it under a section. Hence why you hear sometimes that there's more ethnic minorities who are sectioned than there are in the European white community.
I think the biggest problem in ethnic minorities when it comes to mental health would be social stigmas and stereotyping. I think there's often this notion that when people come out as depressed or having anxiety or even schizophrenia, that they're diseased, they're mad, they're crazy, and there's also this idea that they lack faith, they don't believe in religion.
A conversation with my mother, and maybe say that I was suffering with depression. The solution would be pray away the evil spirits causing the depression. Because of this, I feel like many people don't know how to deal with these issues other than just prayer.
Deal with mental health issues. The thing with talking about Asians is you get judged. So if you have got an issue, you feel you can't discuss it.
We still feel that admitting, acknowledging, or describing yourself having a mental health problem, actually many people think that this means you are a weak person. People will not be able to admit within the family, within the friends, that I am having some psychological distress. If you will say that, look, I'm having pain in my chest, which is going to my right or left arm, everybody around you will be alarmed. They will immediately say, no, you are not well, you sit here, you relax, let's go to the A&E. But if somebody says, I'm getting worried, first of all, people will not accept this. They will start laughing. And they will say, oh, no, there is nothing to worry. Why are you worrying? So it is just like a sort of discouraging people to come up.
Mental health is a very personal and internalized area of health, which makes it difficult for a person to realize they are unwell or anyone around them is unwell. It's also a very broad spectrum, making it difficult to come up with criteria for what is and is not something to worry about. Therefore, patients may never be diagnosed, so can never really receive care.
The problem I think the mental health care services have right now is a massive lack of stability. you're just being bounced around from service to service. It's too difficult. You need something to lean against, and they just don't offer it.
As a Nigerian, you're always expected to be a certain type of person, to excel in your career, education, and so on, which is great, but at the same time, it carries a lot of pressure and stress. For many Nigerians, it's hard to open up about their struggles and challenges, and this has a negative impact on mental health.
I think empathy is so important for patients, and so being British Indian, I think that sometimes I've experienced from different therapists that inability to put themselves in my shoes. And I think a big part of that is that lack of representation within the sector itself. So I have gone to India to seek therapy, but then again, there's an issue there with being able to put themselves in my shoes because they can't see my identity from a Western perspective, whereas in the West, people can't see my identity from my Indian side.
Growing up, something that always made me feel alienated was the fact that there was no representation of people like me in the school pastoral bits, that they would never be able to understand how I was feeling without me having to explain it so thoroughly, and it just felt very exhausting and not worth the effort, essentially.
I would say that there is a lack of representation. In some boroughs, you'll probably find much more, but in a lot of boroughs there isn't. So yes, I would definitely agree with that, and that can make it difficult. That can make it difficult with people opening up, because they may fear that person won't understand,
or like judgments because of certain things they might be saying,
and they may not share certain things that's very key to their well-being.
The fact that I was one of few black people in the town, I felt like eyes were always on me, and that my actions wouldn't represent myself, but how the community would feel towards black people in general, even if that wasn't the case. And that's caused me to put myself under a lot of pressure.
Me as a woman, when I made certain choices in my life which were frowned upon in the community, affected my mental health. So I struggled being a woman and being Asian, because I wasn't able to make choices in my life because of the impact it would have on losing a lot of those people.
As a member of a minority ethnic group where mental health is seen as a taboo, I am made to feel as though mental health is an excuse for poor behaviour or a way to label people that do not fit with what we perceive should be the norm.
The first solution is that we have to start looking at the positive aspects. We have to find out what are the factors that can keep you well in terms of well-being. So this is the first step. And the second step is that we need to acknowledge that mental health problems are just problems like physical health problems. And if somebody is able to be open and say that, look, I'm having some mental health problems, we should try to actually encourage that. Look, now with the advancement in medicine and psychological therapies, there are many treatments that are available. Talking therapy is one of the best examples. You talk to someone who is going through any stress. This will be a great help to him or her.
I would just say, it's a interesting field. We definitely need much more people coming into that field. Lots of people from different ethnic minorities. That Britain is we have so many different ethnic minorities within Britain, and it's useful if we have everyone, from representing the groups that we work with in mental health. We'd love to have more people coming into it. and bring in their ideas about how we could improve and work and do things differently as well.